It's all about the heart, the heart, the heart. It's all about the heart, the heart, the heart. It's all about the heart, the heart, the heart. It's all about the heart, the heart, the heart.
Hi, and welcome to The Heart of the Matter, the show that's all about figuring out our hearts and what really matters. God cares about our hearts a lot, about what we love and about our deepest thoughts and motives, why we do what we do. He wants us to love Him with our whole heart. In fact, when Jesus was asked what the most important commandment was, He said it was to love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. In other words, to love God with everything we've got. He doesn't want just part of us. He wants all of us. He wants us to love Him with an undivided heart. That means that we put Him first in everything and that nothing else shares the first place in our hearts. We don't give a piece of ourselves to school, a piece to our family, and a piece to God. We should give ourselves fully and completely to God first, and then everything else comes after that. Let's cross over to Cray in the Field with more about living with an undivided heart.
Hi, we're out here today at the stadium and I hope you can hear me back there in the studio, but you can hear the noise behind me and the crowd in the stadium. They are loving it out here today. Have you ever noticed how people can get so caught up in a sports game that they shout and scream and just lose themselves in the game? Someone scores a goal and everyone goes, wow, they go ballistic, as you can hear behind me today. Just imagine how awkward it would be if you were at a game where everyone just kept still and they barely said anything. If the crowd were like sarcastically, yo, go, you got it, you got this, go score a goal. That wouldn't make a great atmosphere, would it? And it wouldn't exactly be very encouraging for the players. God is so much more important than any sports event or sports game that you can attend or be part of. And yet we so often worship Him rather half-heartedly. We stand there like this. And I'm not just talking about singing songs, although that's an important kind of worship too. And we should do that with all of our hearts, with all gladness and joy, without caring what anybody else thinks or is looking and thinking about us. But I'm talking about worshiping God in a way we do with our lives, with everything in us, and do everything to the glory of God. God doesn't want our half-hearted attention and our half-hearted attitude. He doesn't want the leftovers of our time and our energy. Would you like to have someone in your life like that? You know what it's like when someone is on their phones, when you're trying to have a conversation with them and they aren't really interested and they don't really give you the time of day or their full heart's attention. It's pretty insulting actually, right? We should give God our all, our whole hearts. David showed us what true worship and loving God with an undivided heart is all about.
David was a king of Israel who really loved and honored God. He was a real worshiper who worshipped God with his whole heart. One day, the Israelites were bringing the Ark of the Covenant to the temple in Jerusalem. The Ark of the Covenant was a big box that had stone tablets with the 10 Commandments on them, as well as some other special objects. This box represented God's presence among the people, and everyone was really excited about bringing it to the temple where it belonged. It was a day of great celebration. After every few steps that the men carrying the ark went, they offered sacrifices to God and played music and shouts of joy. The whole way along their journey, David danced with all his might in front of the ark to honor and celebrate God. It was quite a strange thing for a king to do, and what was even more strange was that David was dancing around wearing just his underwear. He didn't care what anyone thought because he was worshipping God with his whole heart. As the parade came into the city, David's wife Michal looked down from her window and saw David dancing, half clothed, in front of the parade. She was disgusted with David and couldn't believe that he would embarrass himself like that. Later, when David got home, Michal came out to meet him and she said, "Well, the king of Israel certainly made a fool of himself today. You were dancing around in your underwear in front of the whole kingdom. What on earth are you thinking?" David said, "I was dancing in worship to honor God, and I will keep on dancing to him and praising him no matter what. I will disgrace myself even more if that's what it takes to worship God with all my heart. I'll become even more undignified than this." That's quite something to say. David didn't care what other people thought. He cared only about what God thought and about loving God with everything. He loved God with an undivided heart, and God asks us to do the same. Let's cross over now to Dr. Hartman, who has an experiment that might help us understand this better.
Hi, everybody. We've been talking about having an undivided heart and putting God first in everything. So today, here's a nice experiment that we can do that will help us think about this practically. So now, life is full of stuff, right? There's so much things we have to do. We have school, we have friends, family, activities, church, loads and loads of things going on. So what we usually try to do is do all those stuffs and we fill our lives with those homeworks and everything. And it's like this sugar right here, right? This sugar represents those homeworks, those activities, those families, and this bowl right here represents our lives. And we try to fill all our lives with everything that we're doing, all those home activities. Some of us, we have like swimming lessons that we gotta do. We do that. We have like families and friends visiting us at the party, and we have some parties. We do that. We filled our lives with all of these activities right here, except for this egg that represents God right here. So now let's look at that. We're filling our life. Those are your homeworks. Those are your play times with your friends and family and all that. Now your life is all full, right? Now you realize that, you know what, maybe let me just add God into my life. By the time you try to do that, God doesn't have space in your life. Now, that very same process, let's reverse it. Remember the first time what we did? We put our lives first. We put our games and PlayStations and everything first in our lives. But right now, let's reverse that whole process. Let's remember that egg that represents God. Let's take it and put it in here. This is our lives. Remember I said this bowl for today is our lives, right? And then now, let's try, because we've added God. God comes first in our lives. Now let's try to add all of those activities now into our lives. Let's try that. You can put in church, you can put in like school and everything, your sports time and everything, your cricket if you play cricket, your basketball. Let's put more activities, more fun things that we're doing in our lives right now. They are all coming after God. Let's look at that. Here we go. Here's this sugar that represents our lives and every activity that we do. Let's give that a try again. Let's see that again. Let's see how that works. And then we put this again here. Oh, wow. Look at that. All of those activities, they were able to fill into our lives. And God is also part of it. Even better, actually, if you put God first, when you add these activities, your homeworks and everything, that load actually becomes lighter, right? Now, for a joke, why did the skeleton refuse to propose to his girlfriend? Wait for it. Because his heart was just not in it.
Hello and welcome to Street Beat. We've learned today that God wants us to love Him with everything, not half-heartedly, but with whole, undivided hearts. Here at Street Beat, we ask, okay, but what does that mean for our everyday life out here in the world? What do I do with that? Well, here's something that might help you wrap your mind around what this looks like in your life. We tend to think our life being divided up into small bits like slices of a pie. There's the school bit, the friends bit, the family bit, the sports/activities bit, the relaxing or entertainment bit, and then we have the Jesus bit. But when we think of our hearts like that, we've divided them up, and that's not how God asks us to live. We should rather think of it like this. Jesus goes first, and He has to be our number one priority and the thing we love first and most of all. And then everything else is secondary to that. We can still slot all the other pieces in, but our love for Jesus is the foundation on which all of that is built and should impact the way we do all these other things. For example, if Jesus is the foundation of my heart, it should influence what kind of people I hang out with, how I choose my friends, and how I treat my friends. It should influence the way I do my schoolwork and my attitude towards my teachers. Jesus doesn't just get a piece of the pie, He gets everything. And then the rest of my life is built on my desire to love Him first with my whole heart. Now, back to the studio.
May we have hearts like David, who didn't care what people thought and was willing to make a fool of himself to love and worship God. May we give God everything we've got and put Him first, no matter what. Remember, it's all about the heart. See you next time.